Hi, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Tiny Brains podcast. I'm Kevin Joyce, CEO at Tiny Brains, and I have with me Peter Graham, the Brigadier of Brains at Tiny Brains. Say hello, Peter.
Hello, all.
So you may have noticed that we missed him a week last week. I'm very sorry about that. We were caught up on being busy, which is better than not being busy, I guess. But we're diving back in this week, and we're going to go straight into some big VR headset news. Lots of big VR headset news this week. We're going to start with the Somnium VR1. Now, this is something that Pete's been following very closely over the time since it's been announced, and I'm quite surprised by what's materialized here, Pete.
Yes, so a little recap. So the Somnium VR1 is the brainchild of Somnium Space, which is a metaverse, VR metaverse that's existed for a good sort of 4 or 5 years. And they announced their plans to go into the hardware market. So with the Somnium VR1, it is a PCVR headset. It is a modular headset, and it's going to be launched next month. We thought it was going to come out earlier this year, and naturally, with all things hardware, that's been pushed back. But now we have a date. July the 12th is going to be the official launch date for Somnium VR1. But last week, if you were if you put in like an early reservation, you could start pre-ordering them.
The part of this that surprised me, however, is the pricing.
Well, we'll get onto we'll get onto that. So, just to confuse the issue, they're not releasing just one headset. They're releasing 8 variations of the headset. Now, this is, like I say, this is modular, so you can go into the order process and pick and choose whether you want hand tracking, whether you want eye tracking, all that. But there are 8 base variants, and the starting price for the classic edition is €1,900, which is just over $2,000, which is a bit of a steep starting price, isn't it, Kev?
Pushing it, right?
Yeah. But then it goes all the way up to the translucent limited edition model, which is 3,900 euros. So basically about sort of $4,300, roughly speaking. So almost $4,500 for a top end PCVR headset.
There's no denying that these headsets, for anyone out there, you want to go look up the stats, they are impressive.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be an impressive headset, but I can't see very many, some maybe, but not very many consumers that are going to fork out that much for a headset in the current economy, especially considering this is the VR1. So there's likely to be a VR2 coming down the line at some point. So knowing the VR industry as well as we do, I would be reluctant to fork out $4,000 on a headset that's likely to be replaced in a year or so. Maybe that's just me.
Well, possibly, but then due to the modularity, maybe they might just release modular components. That might be another route they might go down as well.
But my assumption is that you can essentially buy the base unit and upgrade it manually yourself, buy new modules and so on. But of course, the way these things always work is that if you buy the base unit, then add something in later, buying it all individually is going to cost you more than going in for the full version to begin with. But as we say, if there are headsets that are suitable for different tasks, and the VR1, no doubt, is going to be a great headset for enterprise, for high-level VR experiences. And I'm sure they will find an audience there. I'm just not sure that they're going to find a consumer audience. Not a large one, anyway.
Most certainly not.
Moving on to Meta. So we have the Meta Accelerator. Now, this was a program, forgive me if I'm wrong, Pete, but this was the program that was revealed at GDC?
I'm not too sure if this was the same program, actually. No. This is a lifestyle accelerator. So correct me if I'm wrong, but this might be something completely new. I've forgotten what the accelerator at GDC was, to be fair. There's been so much news going on. But this is a lifestyle app accelerator. So
Yeah, I did see this one. This is essentially the same thing, but specifically for lifestyle applications. This, in my mind, is to turn the Quest Store into the App Store. We all know that the iPhone became super successful when the App Store launched, and the slogan at the time was, "There's an app for that."
Hmm.
Whatever it is you want to do. Now we're all familiar with anything we want to do, we can probably find an app for it. And VR doesn't have that yet, right? There is no option to go and measure the corner of your room when you want to buy a new desk. There's no option I'm not sure you would do this in VR anyway, but to determine, how fast you've been going on your run or your bike ride or whatever it may be, lifestyle apps. And so this, in my mind, is an accelerator designed to bring those kind of apps to VR. Now, uh, from my understanding of this, there isn't. It's a typical meta approach, right? There is no permanent exclusivity or anything. It is just put it on the Meta store and then port it later if you so wish, which is nice.
Yeah, yeah. So essentially, you're quite right. It's going to be a 6 month program that they're going to invest in certain projects. Developers have until sort of October to submit it. And that, yeah, they're looking for a range of stuff. It covers fashion, design, cooking, DIY, music, all that sort of lifestyle stuff that we've mentioned. And yeah, it's actually going to go on the store and
Trying to widen the audience for beyond gaming, which is something that Meta did do for quite a while and then kind of dropped the ball on, and now they're obviously returning back to. So it's nice. Obviously, VR appealing to more people is always good. Good for everybody.
exactly.
One thing that's not good for everybody is the cancellation of new headsets.
Well, when it comes to Apple Vision Pro, are we that surprised? Or should I say Apple Vision Pro 2, as the current reports are?
So the rumors on this are that Apple have cancelled work on the Apple Vision Pro 2. Honestly, I don't really believe this. My take on it would be that they've probably halted work on the Apple Vision Pro 2 to concentrate on the Apple Vision Pro S, or whatever they end up calling it, the cheaper version. But I personally don't believe that Apple are backing away from VR to such an extent that they're canceling their next project. Personally.
Yes, this is definitely a take it with a huge pinch of salt, isn't it? Yeah, they're essentially they want to get more headsets out there, and production or sales have slowed of AVP at the moment. And so the best way to get more sales out the door is to make a cheaper model, isn't it? It's not to make a more expensive or next edition, because then the next edition will completely kill off the current version. So they're looking at making it cheaper.
Which is a good thing, obviously. I'm not sure I could use the term entry level here, an entry level device, because it's still probably going to be a couple of grand. But yeah, better than 3.5, right? So
It's better than 3.5, but you're still gonna have to wait a good probably year and a half or so. They're not expecting it before like late 2025 at the earliest.
something that's not better than a £3,500 headset is a £500 headset with no support. So our next story is the PlayStation VR 2. This again is a rumor, but it is a fairly credible one. So supposedly, PlayStation, Sony are removing or lowering significantly their support for the PlayStation VR 2. There is a report suggesting there are only 2 games in development, first-party games, and there will be no more after that. The device obviously there is the PCVR adapter coming out in August 7th, I believe, which once
Yes,
again
yeah.
I heroically quoted the right price. Um, but yeah, PlayStation VR 2, we hardly knew you.
It is a sad case of affairs, isn't it? When you find out that realistically Sony are only making 2 games for it, and we don't know what those games are, when they might even arrive. So it's all down to third party developers to fly the flag for PlayStation VR. And there are a reasonable amount of PSVR 2 games coming, but then they're not first party titles, which will really help to sell the headset if Sony wants to sell the headset.
So my personal opinion on this, and I've said it many times before, possibly even on this podcast, is that the PlayStation VR 2 launched too early in the PlayStation 5's lifespan. It would have been, in my opinion, much more efficient to continue supporting PlayStation VR 1 on PlayStation 5 until about maybe now, launching the headset around this time. It was launched at a point when people were still struggling to find the PlayStation 5 consoles. and when the PlayStation 5 audience was still a fraction of what it is now. And people had literally only just spent out 500, $600 on their PlayStation 5, and then they were being asked to spend another $500 on an accessory. And as much as I love VR and the PlayStation VR 2, it's hard to frame it as anything other than an accessory to the mainstream audience. So personally, I believe this was an issue in assuming an audience was ready to spend a large amount of cash when they clearly weren't. Now, PlayStation, their hardware strategy has clearly been a new piece of hardware every year since the launch of PlayStation 5. We had the PS5 itself, PlayStation VR 2, PlayStation Portable. It's highly rumored we're going to get the slim version of a pro version of the PlayStation 5 this year. So it's clearly there is a new piece of PlayStation hardware every year for the PlayStation faithful. But putting the PlayStation VR 2 at the front of this, I think was a bad move.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to improve anytime soon.
Will we ever see a PlayStation VR 3?
Highly unlikely now.
So we always like to wrap up with a game, a bit of game news at the end of this. And today we're going to talk about Gorilla Tag. Have you heard of it?
Well, I think if you love VR, you've probably heard of Gorilla Tag. You maybe even dabbled in it a bit. Maybe you are part of the new set of stats that has been revealed by developer another Axiom. At AWE, they took the stage and revealed that Gorilla Tag's popularity does not seem to be waning anytime soon, and is producing numbers that will make a lot of other VR developers rather jealous. So, what are those numbers? Well, Gorilla Tag manages to do, on average, 1 million daily users that are active on its app at any one time. 3 million over the course of a month, and 10 million lifetime players. 10 million. So, who'd have thought it?
Wow. Wow. That's it. Just wow. Congratulations, everyone that's working on Gorilla Tag. Your game came from nothing to be the face of VR, essentially. Goodbye, Beat Saber. Goodbye, Among Us VR. All these successful titles. It's Gorilla Tag.
Yeah.
So that's that.
Well, yeah, just leave those numbers along the bottom. Just go. There you go. That's what you've all got to try and achieve now.
Good luck, everybody. Become the next Gorilla Tag. We would love to help you become the next Gorilla Tag.
Exactly.
Anyway, that wraps it up for this week. If you want to reach out and chat about any of these stories or anything else that's happening in the XR industry, please do so on any of the many links below. You can reach us on Twitter, X, Facebook, LinkedIn, email, contact form on our website. Millions of them. And if you want to chat, if you want us to chat about anything that you're working on, drop us a line and let us know about it. Thank you very much, everybody. See you next week.